Think we're going to have a pretty full house today. So as you're coming on in, feel free to turn your cameras on. We'd love to see you, but we'll ask that you stay on mute for this presentation. Got a really fun session in store. And while everyone is coming in, what I'd love to do is this will be a bit of a goal setting day today. Go ahead and pop in the chat one goal you have for your business this year, whether that be, opening your first truck or maybe opening a second truck. Maybe it's booking more catering gigs, doing more events. Start thinking about your goals for this year. If you don't already have a big one, it might be good to start thinking about that as we go into today. Hey, Adam, good to see you. Hey, Virgil. Welcome, everyone. So we're going to give it one more minute just to let everyone get in, and then we will kick this off. So again, go ahead and think about your goals for today. So perfect. Brent says he's going to be opening his first truck, and Virgil says his goal is hired a manager yesterday, ordering second trailer next week. Nice. Adam says sales growth. Jennifer is launching their second truck. Right on.
Wow. That's a lot of people doing a second truck. I'm impressed.
It's a good year for
Mm-hmm.
I know it is for you.
it. Yeah, I'm pretty.
Oh, you got muted there, Virgil, but we're excited for you. All right. Bill, do you think this is about it for the crew this afternoon?
It seems to be. We have a number of folks in here, and I'll keep letting them in as they try to join.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for joining us today. I want to start with some short introductions. My name is Kaylee Hagan. I'm the Director of Membership and Growth here at the National Street Food Vendors Association. We are hosting today's webinar along with Custom Trailer Pros, but want to introduce you to our speakers that you're going to be hearing from today. You'll be hearing from Bill Moore, who's our Executive Director here at NSFVA, and also Justin Prestage, who is the CEO of Custom Trailer Pros. He brought you today's presentation, so really want to thank him for his support of the association. He's one of our gold sponsors, so really just fortunate to have him here today sharing today's session. Throughout this, if you've got questions, I'm going to ask that you put them in the chat. You can either send them to the entire group or me directly. Again, just ask that you keep yourselves muted. We're going to have a Q&A session at the end. But let's get into it. So without any further ado, I'm going to kick it over to Justin.
Awesome. Thank you, Kaylee. And hello, everybody. I am super excited to be here with you guys. I launched my business in 2012, and I had such a hard time doing it and found a community of people that helped support me. And so from that time, it's actually been my passion to help as many people as possible. And so even today, I'm coming to you from a hotel room where I have come for the rest of this week. I'm, in addition to Custom Trailer Pros running that company, I'm a small business coach. And so I'm coaching 20 startups over the next 4 days as well. So this is just one of my passions. And so to get to join with Bill and NSFVA over the last couple of years and really partner with them on helping to bring education has really been an amazing experience. And so I'm very excited to be here with you today. We've got a lot of ground to cover. I know the webinar is 30 minutes. I'm available for a full hour, so I can stay past the 30 minutes. If we have questions and discussion that we want to get through, I'm happy to stay on and help facilitate that. So I will be available for that afterwards as well. But we're going to move pretty quickly through this little presentation so that we can get to as many questions and have as much discussion as possible. And so we'll start with setting yourself up for success in 2026. And we really can't do that until we reflect back on 2025. And so as we go back and look at 2025, I actually view the reflection as a multi-tiered exercise. And for me personally, when I reflect on the previous year, there's an element of it that's spiritual for me. So I look back on it and I actually give gratitude for the good and for the bad. And so what I mean by that is even the bad, those are hard situations, but they are teachable situations, and we can actually turn those things into really strong positives by making them our strengths moving forward. And so when we learn and grow from those circumstances, that's our way of actually beating those circumstances and turning them into strengths of ours moving forward as we move on into 2026 and beyond. So we look back at 2025. I want to know what worked and what didn't work about 2025. And so what I mean by that, it literally can be small details to big things. So it can be what events worked for you and didn't work. What even menu items worked for you and didn't work. And so I go through a process that's called Build, Measure, Learn. And it's a process that I've gotten from the book, The Lean Startup, which is my business Bible. And so I highly recommend to everybody that you check out that book as a really good option for helping you navigate the business of operating a food truck. Purely from a business standpoint, is not a food truck specific book. But we want to really know what worked and didn't work. And the things that didn't work, well, what you can do is you can either tweak them and fix them, you can fully adjust away from them, or you can get rid of them altogether and go on to something else. But what we don't want to do is keep things that weren't working and just doing them the same way over and over and over again, thinking, well, maybe today they'll work. Unless we change something, pivot, or get rid of it altogether, the chances of something that wasn't successful last year becoming successful this year are going to be really, really small. The next thing on there, we want to really know what our true expenses are. So a lot of times we get caught up in the day-to-day operations and we go from one day to the next, and we don't really stop and evaluate what were our true costs of the year last year. And so a good example for me of in my business of knowing my true expenses, every trailer that I sell comes with a 1-year warranty that's in-house that we provide. And so in the first year that a customer has their trailer, anything goes wrong with it, whether it's their fryer or their wheels, we cover it in-house. So we don't send it back to the original manufacturer for warranty work. So that's an expense to me. And so I want to know, what did I spend in 2025 on warranty issues versus how many trailers I sold. And so I know what my average cost per trailer sold is going to be for warranty issues in 2026. That goes into my true cost of doing business. And so if I say, hey, hamburger meat, if I'm operating a food truck and I say, hey, hamburger meat costs me, $2 a pound, and I sell it for $3 a pound, well, that's great, but your true profit on that is not $1 per pound. You also have to make sure you know your expenses of preparation time, the seasoning that goes into it. There's so many layers and dynamics that go into that. And so you have to be able to look back and know what those true expenses are. And I'll also promote NSFVA in this regard. Bill's got a lot of resources to help you actually create some charts to figure out what your true expenses are and to know those costs. Because if you get caught up in this and you don't know your numbers, you're going to get upside down really quickly, and you're going to get caught just banging your head against the wall, trying to figure out why, but you don't have the tools to actually analyze why things aren't working. So you have to know your numbers. The next part of this is then, what was your true cost of doing business? And we really already kind of covered that. All your categories that you do expense should be able to be categorized into your different business costs. And you need to know what are your fixed costs. So that's costs you're going to have whether you sell 1 ounce of food or not. So that's insurance, rent, things like that. And then what are your variable costs? And so doing those things, understanding those costs will help you now as you look at 2025, at 2026 moving forward. We'll go to the next slide. As you evaluate, knowing those costs is going to help you understand your break-even budget. And again, Bill has some great resources on how to figure this out, but you need to know what your break-even budget is of, hey, this year I have to bring in this much revenue in order to break even on the year. And then what you make in above and beyond that is going to be where you really excel in your business and where your business is actually really successful. What changes can I make right now for a better 2026? We'll fly through these, Kaylee. If you kind of want to just put those on the screen, these are all things that you need to really question and evaluate. As you look forward to 2026, do you have consistent routines that are working? Maybe you have areas that don't have any routines, and so those are a struggle. What are your processes? Or there are venues that you did last year, maybe even multiple times, and you lost money every time you went and did those. You need to evaluate, should you stop doing those venues? Sometimes as a startup business, we get so caught up and we need to book as many things as possible that we don't actually figure out what's good to say yes to and good to say no to. And as you grow and learn, you're going to understand that there are definitely things that you need to learn to say no to. And so there's going to be some pieces that you can put in place to help you figure out which ones to say yes and which ones to say no to. Is your pricing where it needs to be? A lot of times we struggle with, we don't want to charge too much. And so a lot of times our pricing is low, and we can have days where we're busy the entire day. And we think this is awesome. And then at the end of the day, we realize we hardly made any money. And that's an awful feeling to realize. And a lot of times that's a reflection that your pricing really is not where it needs to be. If you have a busy day and you're selling food all day, you should be making a lot of money doing it that way. Does your menu work? The most common problem that we see is that people's menu is too big. And so you really want to consider paring it down. If you're prepping food that you're barely selling event after event after event, that's a really expensive mistake to be made. And so you want to really evaluate your menu, what's profitable about your menu and what's not working about it. Even your prep routines, your service times from the time that somebody orders to the time that they get their plate, we call this plates per minute. It's one of the greatest indicators of success is what's your plates per minute. And so you can have the greatest food and you can charge the right prices. And if it takes you 15 minutes every plate that's ordered, you'll never be successful. Your service time has to get lower, 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 lower. And so I've got a customer who's ordered 3 trailers from us, not because he's expanded, but because he's figured out faster and more efficient ways to do it. So he has sold his previous trailer, bought a new trailer, sold his previous trailer, bought a new trailer, and now his plating time is under a minute on every plate consistently over and over and over again. And he's actually getting it down to about a 30-second plating time. His profitability on his food truck has gone through the roof. He's making a ton of money, and he's doing it because he understands efficiency and that his plates per minute time is as low as it could possibly be. So you really want to get good at evaluating all these things on a regular basis as you move forward. And so being able to do that will help you to set goals. So the third part of this presentation is setting goals. Based on steps 1 and 2, create realistic goals that you can use to measure your progress. And you want to do this weekly, monthly, quarterly, and annually. It helps to have somebody else involved in this that you're kind of accountable to. And then my big thing is you can't do this for a few weeks and then stop. You have to stick to this. You have to evaluate all the time moving forward to where you're forcing yourself to sit down and look at your numbers and figure out what's working and not working. And so oftentimes the weakness that I see for startups and for entrepreneurs is that we manage these things from a gut feeling where we think, oh, this worked. I feel great about yesterday. Tomorrow will be just as good. But unless we have realistic numbers and data that we're looking at, then what the mistake that you make is you either, one, you're sometimes flat out wrong, your feelings lie to you, and 2, oftentimes we realize things and we analyze things too slowly when it's going off of our feelings. And so we want to get really fast and really good at analyzing things, and we want to do that based on numbers and data. And so I always say all data is good data. And what I mean by that is when you have a customer who's upset or leaves a bad review, or maybe you get 3 bad reviews in a week, whatever it is, as discouraging as that is, that's a really good data. And so we want to protect ourselves from having, a strong emotional response and making business decisions off those emotional responses. And instead, we want to turn that information into data and make real decisions to improve our business moving forward based on data. And so all data is good data. And the most teachable data, the most teachable moments that we have are oftentimes the hard ones that we hate. But we can learn so much from those. And so we need to get really, really good at learning from those moments moving forward. And just internalizing it and understanding that it's really helpful data. I remember, honestly, for me in 2018 is kind of when I had this light bulb moment, and I really viewed my shortcomings as something that I needed to run away from. In 2018, I decided I'm actually just going to really embrace those things. And so it allowed me to look at those things honestly and turn those weaknesses into strengths. And so I call those turning stumbling blocks into stepping stones, where the things that might have been a weak area for us in the past are going to be some of our biggest strengths moving forward. But if we're not willing to receive criticism and look at things honestly, then we'll never turn our stumbling blocks into stepping stones. They'll remain there as stumbling blocks. And so all of the things that you're analyzing is not just your food, although that's an important part, but you really need to look at your income, your bookings, your profit per event, your buying strategy, where you're getting your food, your efficiency goals. All of those things need to be looked at and analyzed on an ongoing basis. If you say this and say like, okay, I did it once at the beginning of this year, I'm going to do it at the beginning of next year, there's way too much that's going to go wrong between now and then that you could have avoided had you gotten good at analyzing these things all along the way. And so that's a really, really fast version of this. Again, I would recommend reading Lean Startup. I recommend reading Bill Moore's book. Oh yeah, the Execute is the big one. Sorry, I forgot that there's a 4th page. I should execute better on this presentation. So all of this there's a famous marketer, his name's Gary V. I'll paraphrase something that he says, but it might be my favorite saying in small business, where he says, ideas are crap, execution is everything. And so we can all have these good ideas, and we get really excited about it. It's really fun to think about the big ideas and plans that we have. But if we're not executing at a high level, it doesn't matter at all. The best idea is still going to be a really hard thing to execute on and make it successful. And so execution is everything. So you have to commit to daily executing towards your goals, include consistent evaluation, as we talked about, bring others into your plan who can hold you accountable. And then this is a really big one that we can oftentimes have a hard time with, but seek insight from those with success and then ignore those who have not achieved it. And so we all know, anytime you say, from the moment that all of us say like, yeah, I want to do a food truck, people gave you all kinds of opinions on that. Oh, you shouldn't do that. Oh, that's a great idea. Oh, your food is amazing. Like, you hear all kinds of opinions all over the board. I know for me, like, even in my life, my dad is a very well-meaning person, but his natural reaction to anything and everything he hears is to give you all of his opinion on what you should do and how you should do it if you say you're going to go do something, whether he has experience in that or not, right? And so I had to really learn to not emotionally not give him that power. And so what that means is I know he's going to do it, but I'm just going to kind of tune him out for a little bit while he does that, because otherwise it's emotionally really heavy to take on that input from others. And so unless you've had success doing what I'm doing, I'm really like, I'm going to hold you at arm's length while you give me your input and opinion on what I should be doing or how I should be doing it. But the flip side of that is I'm going to really seek out people who have had success, and I'm going to bring them close in and try to get as much input from them as possible, and really listen to what they're saying, and really consider it deeply, right? And so it's like a weighted system. I give a lot of weight to somebody like a Bill Moore who's been there and done that, and to my uncle Rick, I give no weight to it because he's not done any of this stuff, even if he's got strong opinions. And so that's a really strong point that I believe in, is seeking insight from those with success and keeping those without success at a distance. Okay, I don't think there's a page 5. Okay. Okay, so this is a good time that I want to open it up to questions. Bill and I both will be available to answer any questions that you guys might have. And I know that we flew through that really quickly, but in this process of, and I love the goals that you guys have put out here of launching a second truck, a new truck, all that stuff. Like, these are amazing goals. So any questions that you guys have around operating this way, I would love to hear from you guys and answer any questions that you might have.
While we're
Can
waiting on the questions to roll in, I just want to just follow up just real quick on what Justin had to say. I love listening to Justin. Every time we do something at FTO, I'm just so impressed with the things that he says, and it always makes me go, I wish I'd have thought of that. The comment about learning from people that have had some modicum of success in what you want to do is so important, because as a food truck owner, especially in the beginning, you talk to your friends and you talk to your family and share your ideas and your hopes and your dreams. And some of those family members and friends tell you, oh, don't do that, even though they've never done it at all. So it's a good thing to surround yourself with people that have lived the life you want to live. You don't have to pay attention to me to pay attention to a lot of these folks that have joined us today. I see a whole bunch of successful food truck owners just in this group, not counting what's on our Facebook group and what's in our association. So please just surround yourself with people that are going to support you and help you in a positive way.
And I put paying customers kind of in that bucket as just a little side note. If you're giving away your food for free and then you're asking for people to give you feedback, like that's where the friends and family are, they're all going to be nice to you, because no one wants to tell you to your face that your food sucks, especially if they didn't pay for it. But if they've paid for it and they don't know you, they're going to, your likelihood of getting honesty from people is going to increase dramatically. And so listen to people who have paid for your food. Obviously, we know in this industry, like, everything you've got to take it with a grain of salt, no pun intended. But some people are going to complain no matter what. And so there's a certain level of complaints that you can just throw into the trash can. But if you see any type of consistency with the complaints, or you're getting some similar complaints over and over again, that's where I really look at it and go, yeah, I think I'm the problem on this one. I need to adjust it and get some things figured out.
Justin, we've got 6 or 7 questions over here, so I don't know if you want to just rapid fire through them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect.
Virgil, I see I would like to hear more about the guy that is on his third trailer and what he is selling. Yeah, his first trailer he built, and he had this great idea for what he thought was going to be the main course. And so most of the cooking station was towards that. He had his kids running the side dishes. And so what he realized is, he does fairs and festivals, so he does massive events almost exclusively in Ohio. And so he realized, like, people are ordering this side item that he didn't think was going to be a big deal over and over and over again, and his main course wasn't getting ordered at all. And so he ordered a second trailer to ditch the main course and focus more on the sides. And then he realized once he was selling it that he could, if he changed the way it was set up, just wasn't as efficient as he wanted to. And so if he updated it, he could get it from a minute and a half plating time to 30-second plating time. And so he realized he could triple his sales because every event he had these long lines that were going way out. And so if he could cut that down by a third, it would be worth it to him. I'm trying to remember what the side dish is that he it's Rafter C Chuck Wagon. If you want to look it up, that's the name of it. It's Rafter C Chuck Wagon in Ohio. And I'm trying to remember what it is. It's some sort of loaded thing. So it's like loaded pots or something like that. I don't remember exactly what it is that he's selling out of it. But he has figured out how to get that down super, super low there. Does that answer your question? Okay. All right. Oh, I see one from Luis. Bill, this might be for you. Any application you recommend for figuring out food costs and building out your SOPs?
Well, of course, I'm going to recommend my stuff. If you join the association, we have a number of spreadsheets that are completely updated, and I'm actually going to put a couple more in sometime this week that I just finished that do the food costs, that do a break-even point, that help you to figure out how much money you need to do on a daily basis. As far as building out the SOPs, there's a number of different programs out there that will do that. It's basically you fill in a few bits of information and it organizes it in a way that makes sense. I mean, to me, writing an SOP is what do I want the end product to look like, and what are the steps from the beginning to the very end. And we're talking in details, you know, times, temperatures, how long does a particular product cook? How long can we hold it and it still be the quality we want to serve? It's just mainly filling in those questions that make sense for the particular product. And they get tweaked all the time. There are things that Melissa and I started 3 years ago that we were super certain that this is going to be the only way we do it, and every single one of them got changed over time. Um, so just be flexible and certainly go to our website. In the Facebook group, there's older stuff that'll do the same things, or join the association and get the most updated stuff.
Louise, Bill's book, Food Truck 101, is a really good starting point to figure out what some of those SOPs should look like, because Bill gives a lot of detailed information in that book as well.
That is a good point. I even forget I write books. If you go to the chapter that says where's the menu or what's on the menu, that one takes you step by step in how to build an SOP for a food product. And that's the way I wrote it so that it would mimic an SOP. And of course, I forgot that I wrote that. So, yes, go buy Food Truck 101.
Okay. And then, Luisa, I'll also tag on to, I see you asked a question a little bit later here, but since we're talking to you, I'll tag on to your question of any suggestions to build up reviews. This is such a good question, and it's such an important part of what you're doing. So, especially if you're new, what I like to do, I know some guys have, kind of a permanent setup and there's tables there. So if you have a permanent setup or table set out, I like to have QR codes that are on the tables. I have two QR codes that are out, and one is, and they can be on the same card. It doesn't matter, but like, hey, is there any way we can improve? Scan this QR code and let us know. That takes them to a form on my website. So this isn't a public thing where they let the world know that they didn't like their meal. They can let me know that they didn't like their meal, and I now have the opportunity to fix that before they go leave a bad review. And then the other QR code is, did you love your meal? Let the world know, or whatever, however you want to word it, but it's a QR code that goes straight to Google or Facebook, wherever you want your reviews to take place. And so I want to make that pathway as easy as possible for people on both accounts to let me know if they don't like something and to let everybody else know if they do like reviews. And the reality is you have to be willing to ask that question. Hey, how was everything? How'd you like? Oh my gosh, it was so good. Awesome. Okay, great. Here's a card. We would love if you could leave us a review. It's something we're working on right now. we're trying to build up as many as possible so that future customers can have the same great experience that you did, right? So don't be afraid to really go for it and just ask people directly for it, but also make that a staple throughout wherever it is that they're getting your food, that they can leave it. I honestly, I don't like, I see a lot of people have this right at the register of leave a review. That's okay, but if I'm a first-time customer and I haven't even tried your food, and that's where you're telling me to leave a review, I'm not going to come back up to the window and scan it to leave a review later. And so sometimes it can be on their receipt, or you have little business cards that are printed out that you hand out with the meal as you're giving it to them, anything like that that you can do to encourage reviews and make it as easy as possible for your customers to leave those positive reviews. William says, does anyone have a good tool for designing a new trailer? Custom Trailer Pros has great tools for designing a trailer. But we have professional designers that are in-house. So I will say, William, even if this is something you'd like help on, the way that you would do that from us is if you go to customtrailerpros.com, there's a link that says get a quote. If you tell us what it is that you're looking for, we'll give you a quote, typically within 24 hours. And then if you let us get back to us and say, hey, here's some, whatever adjustments I'd like to make, we'll get you a second quote, but we'll also get you a floor plan with that. So from us, that's how we do it. I honestly, I'm not aware of any really good tools online. I know some people have designed within Excel and things like that. The challenge that we run into is we've seen thousands of reviews from our customers, and I've seen maybe 2 that actually work in real life. There's a lot of things that go into it that are hard to be aware of if you don't design them on a regular basis. And so it can be a little bit of a challenge to do it on your own if you don't know what you're doing. So again, we're always happy to help out with that. And then otherwise, honestly, some of the most successful designs I've seen are people who move the cars out of the driveway, they put tape down in the shape of a trailer, and then they make, they tape off sections that are the size of their equipment, things like that. So they make like an actual life-size floor plan. That's a lot of work. Again, having some professionals do it for you might be the easiest way to get that done.
Oh, definitely. I'll just add on to that. A lot of people don't realize, because I talk about food service for my entire life. I actually went to school to be an architect engineer. I've got a degree in engineering. Um, the thing about when someone asks, is there a good app? All the apps are written to shrink stuff down to make it fit in whatever canvas that you're working in, which is good. But you also got to understand there's stuff beyond what you can see, like the counters or a grill or a griddle or fryers, and those will scale based on how you set them up. But how about the propane lines that are going to lead to it? How about the water drains? Where are those going to go? Where's the freshwater tank going to be, for example? So for me, laying out a floor plan is drawing what I want and then giving it to somebody like Justin's team and saying, hey, make this work within all the electrical and the plumbing and all the other things that I'm not thinking about right now. Because as a food service individual, you're worried about how do I get the food from the refrigerator out into the guest's hands? And, Justin's team can make sure that you do it in a way that you're not tipping the trailer over every time that you load it up with food.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's good. And I see Louis saying we drew our layout in our driveway before calling Custom Trailer Pros after watching the movie The Founder and got that idea, which is awesome. So good job, Louis. You're well ahead a lot of our customers. And then Jennifer says, how do you handle food costs versus the price you need to sell it at? The price the market can handle paying for your product, etc. Bill, that's your territory 100%.
Okay, food cost. You got to understand what all the full ingredient list is that goes into every single product. Then there's a mathematical formula. It's real simple. I want people to start at 25% food cost. Some things will be higher, some things are going to be lower. For example, I always use water as as the example for a lower one. You're buying water, it costs you about 11 cents a bottle. You're not selling it for 44 cents. That's 4 times cost. You're using that cheap bottle of water to offset that product that you can't get $30 for because people just won't pay it. Shrimp, for example. If you did 4 times cost on shrimp, you're $35, $40 for a dish of shrimp that people just probably are not going to pay for. So you use the water to help offset whatever your pricing is. So you got to understand how that works. The next thing I tell people to do is normally I wear glasses. Right now, I'm not wearing my glasses. But everyone has a lens that they look through for their personal pocketbook. They'll look at a burger and go, I won't pay more than $10 for that. Okay, well, that's good for me personally, but that doesn't mean there aren't other people that will pay more than $10. So as a food truck owner, you can't look at your own pricing through your personal biases of what you can afford and what you can't afford. What you're going to look at is this product I'm going to be super proud to sell, and it is a humble hamburger, but I'm going to sell it at $17. And then you go out and find people that can afford $17. So that changes where you market. You can't be worried about what people can or can't afford. Because if you're worried about racing to the bottom, you'll never beat McDonald's on a dollar menu. You won't be able to beat Wendy's on their, what is it, 4 for $5 menu they're doing now. You'll never be able to beat those guys. And I can tell you right now that their food, if it's done right, is pretty darn decent. I worked at Wendy's. I know what it's supposed to be like. So you're never going to be able to beat that. So don't worry about beating that. What you want to worry about is how do I get people that can afford $17 coming to my food truck to buy my awesome burger? And that's what you focus on marketing on. So it's one of those things. We set the menu based on ingredients, but then once we've got that number, as long as it's a profitable number, then we got to market to find those people to come in. And then we do things with SEO and all the other neat things that marketing people know how to do. And those are things we can help teach as well. So I hope that answers the question more or less.
Yeah, and we always have to be careful not to project our own financial situation onto others and call that the market,
Yeah.
right? You really truly have to test the market. So if your product costs are one thing and your profit should be another, try that out, even if you think it's ridiculous. There's also a difference between if you go set up, I don't know what, at a public park or something, right? The market is going to be very different there than it is if you're set up inside of a gated festival where people are expecting to pay a premium on food. And so your market actually can change very much so based on where you're at and what your setup is. And so don't be afraid to adjust according to that, but you always want to get that level of feedback of what's working and not working from the actual market and not from yourself or your fears. Okay. Virgil's asking, do you see any relief coming down the road in relation to the cost of beef? I'm not in that world of costing it, so I would be foolish to try to answer that for you.
Beef prices will come down. It's just not going to be fast enough to suit people. All the commodities prices that we deal with in food service, they do this all the time. Prime example, one that I really know real well, is shortening. People were freaking out in 2019, 2020 because, oh my God, shortening is $28 a cube. If you go back to 2006, 2007, we were dealing with the exact same thing. There was no COVID back then. There was no issues other than there was a supply problem, and shortening shot through the roof. It shot through the roof so much that we had to change our budgets on shortening because we couldn't meet them as a restaurant chain. This is at Burger King. And essentially, we almost doubled it. That's how much it went up. But of course, it came back down over time. Beef will come back down over time. It's just people aren't going to be happy with how slow it comes down off that peak. The thing that, like Justin said, you got to price to what's going to make money. People will pay crazy amounts of money if something's really, really good. You just got to find enough of those people that, number one, can afford it and then like your food. Positive side, yes, it's going to come down. It just ain't going to be fast enough.
Yeah, and roadkill can, if you mix that in with the beef, can really stretch it out. Just kidding. That's a joke. Everybody, please don't.
Oh, yeah. We don't want to kick you out of the group for that. Okay.
Uh, okay. And then Melinda's saying, I struggle with social media. Is it worth hiring a professional? I'll give a short answer, and Bill, you probably have some thoughts on that as well. Yeah, Melinda, the thing that I want to see you do is to be, even if you end up hiring a professional, you're going to have to know a little bit about what you're doing in order to make sure you don't get scammed when you hire somebody, right? I've heard so many horror stories of like, oh, we hired a social media manager and they did nothing for us, and I paid them for 6 months and blah blah blah. Like it is a tough thing to measure, and social media managers will always tell you like, well, it just takes time. We just need a little bit more time, and then you'll start seeing the results and all that stuff, right? So it might be worth hiring, but you're going to need to know somewhat of what you're looking for. You're going to be able to have some measurables that you can put on them and make sure that those are in place and that you are holding them accountable to that. And so there's some basics that I would even recommend of, hey, try it for a month where you schedule out 4 posts during the week, but you do that on a Sunday night or whatever it is, where you just carve out a little bit of time and you take 4 pictures of your food and your setup, you write a little caption, and within your social media business page, you can schedule those out right there on a calendar. And so now your social media is done for the week, right? So it doesn't have to be amazing, but I would just do that for a little bit and try to get a little bit of a grip on it so that when you do hire somebody, you at least have some experience, and you should be able to see, like, this is the problem that I hate seeing is people hire a social media person and then that person doesn't get any better results than what you did when you were struggling and didn't know what you were doing, right? And so you want to say, hey, look, I did this myself and I at least got 10 likes on a post. Like, this person's doing social media. I had a social media manager who I had to rein in pretty significantly. And say, just stop posting 4-page posts that are long form descriptors of how to set up a food truck. That's not what people are looking for on social media. Post a funny video of somebody looking for a food truck, right? So we adjusted our approach. And so we, every now and again, we post, more serious things, and business related things and things that we're doing and stories of our customers and things like that. But we have found way more success in interaction. But it took me, like, I had to know what I was doing to a certain degree to be able to make sure that that person didn't go off the rails. And so I would just be careful with that. I would do it yourself a little bit so that you at least have some grasp on what it is that you're doing. And if you do it for a little bit, who knows, you might find that you really enjoy it and you're like, yeah, actually, I can conquer this thing. And then you crush it on social media.
To tag on to that, is it worth hiring a professional? Maybe. Anytime you go to hire anybody, whether it be an employee that you're going to teach them how to cook, or it's going to be a social media manager, an accountant, they have to have specific goals on what your expectations are. So, as a social media manager, they need to be the expert in social media, which means they should have a proven system that they can gain followers and then be worthwhile followers that are going to spend money with you. Ask them to prove that. Most of the people that say, I know how to do social media, their personal page has maybe 1,000 people. Okay, well, if they've only got 1,000 and they're the pro, what are they going to be able to do for you? Because you have a narrow niche. You're selling food. So there's going to be some people, especially out of a food truck, that are automatically going to say, no, I'll never eat a food truck. So the population gets smaller that could potentially be a follower of yours. So, for example, I was talking to someone earlier today about social media, and his, and he runs a food truck, Sushi Squad in Utah, if you want to look him up. Just do what he does. He said it took him 2 months, and he is now the #1 ranked for sushi near me. And it's pretty amazing just to look that up. And he did it through just basic things. he showed me a lot of what he did today. And I'm like, that's pretty darn impressive. Wish I'd have thought of it. So you want to learn from people that are already doing it. If a social media person doesn't have a really massive following, well, what are they going to be able to do for you? And then let them know, hey, if you don't give me a certain number of people and I don't see a certain spike in sales, you're out of here. It's the same thing you do with an employee. If you can't get fast enough at doing whatever I'm teaching you to do, I'm going to give you a little bit of time to get good. But if you don't get good, you're out. Um, so anyway, he gave himself 2 months and he was ranked #1. So social media manager, you got 60 days. Prove yourself valuable to me. If you can't, you're out. And you just say it like that. And then at the end of 60 days, if they don't give you the results you were expecting, you say, remember that conversation we started 60 days ago? And I said, if you didn't get what I needed, you were out. Well, I don't want to be a liar. You're out. And it's just that simple.
Yeah,
And
I'm
yes, I've
following
said
those.
that before.
Sorry,
Go ahead.
Bill.
No, no.
Oh, following those people can be really crucial. Uh, Eggman ATX is another
Yeah.
great follow. Richard has a couple of food trucks in Austin. There's a lady that doesn't have a food truck, but she has a cafe called Judy's Cafe, and her social media is wildly popular. I mean, like she's going viral over and over and over again. And it's not crazy stuff that she's doing. That's what's really
Mm-hmm.
interesting about it, but it is entertaining and it is funny, but it's not that hard to do.
No.
And so follow some of those people, Melinda, and check them out so that you can see what is actually successful and working for people who are in a similar space. And you might actually look at it and go like, oh yeah, I can do that. And then Adam Dixon saying Pearson Street is another
Yeah.
great follow as well. So yeah, those are follow those people, and then you might actually have some ideas of like, oh yeah, this isn't all that hard. I can rock it myself and do it. Um, and or when you hire somebody, you can say, this is what I want my social media to look like, and you
Yep.
can direct them in that way as well. But you're
Absolutely.
whether you do it or you're hiring somebody, you're in charge of it. That will never change. And so you've got to be a really good you either got to get good at doing it or you have to be good at managing the person who is doing it. Okay. An unnamed Zoom user is saying this year we have a large number of clients and events who are asking to be listed on our certificate of insurance as additional insured. And they're asking for larger coverage each year. What's the best way to protect ourselves? I can speak into this a little bit. We have a lot of that same thing where that's the case. Our coverage is, we've not had a problem where our coverage wasn't high enough for what people were looking for. So for me, it's just a quick email over to our insurance agent and they give me the updated deal. So for me, that's not a problem. But as far as the coverage amount goes, if that's going to negatively impact you, then yeah, I'd at least question it. There's always room for pushback to say, hey, our current insurance is this, is that acceptable? And they might say, yeah, that's fine. But the but you do want to be careful there in that regard. And Bill, I'll throw this over to you as well. But yeah, there you want to make sure whatever coverage you have on yourself is going to be adequate there.
Insurance is one of those things I always defer to the experts because I know a whole bunch of people that know insurance, but the only thing I know is if the insurance company doesn't want to do what I want them to do, I'm going to end up suing them, which I had to do. Um, always defer to agents and then verify everything they tell you. Insurance goes up and it's been going up for decades. It's nothing new. If you've ever worked for a job where you've had some type of health coverage, every year in October, they're sending you out the new information. Hey, it's time to sign up again. The reason they're making you sign up again is because they've shopped insurance companies and they found somebody cheaper. That's all the insurance is. It's just a big cycle of finding the least expensive coverage, stick with them a year, and then go find cheap coverage elsewhere. So develop that relationship, find somebody you trust local, and question them to death. Um, I've been fortunate enough, the people that I worked with in the past, were pretty honest people, and they would tell me, "Hey, you don't want to, get this coverage. It's not going to do what you want it to do."
Yeah, having a good insurance provider that you have a good relationship with is really, really, really helpful in the long run. So if you find whoever you have insurance through isn't helping you out with those types of questions, or they're unapproachable or too busy to get back to you, I would be, looking for somebody else that can help you out there. That might be the best approach to all of this, because the having that person in your pocket that you can go to on a regular basis is going to be really helpful in the long run.
Awesome. I think the questions have slowed down, but it's so fun watching you guys in the chat because this is what we're all about community, about helping one another to grow your business, to educate you in the industry. So, if I may take a quick moment, I wanted to just share some next steps for everyone. So we're going to stay for the full hour. So again, I'm not kicking anyone off just yet, but I know some folks have dropped off due to the time constraint. If you've got other questions you want to talk with Justin one-on-one, please don't hesitate to reach out. His info's here. But we'd also invite you to join the NSFVA. So Bill and I would love to see you become members of our organization. And within the NSFVA member portal, we've got even more content with Bill and Justin. Justin's allowed us to use quite a bit of his content, and there's actually a FTO Expo filming of their panel discussion from New Jersey in December. So that's an exclusive video that's up there for members. If you were there and you want to recap, or if you want to go back and watch it, if you like to see them banter and have these conversations, that's in there for you now. We've also got 5 checklists from Custom Trailer Pros that are in our library section. So this is what it looks like. We've got a bunch of videos in there. This is just, 4 of the videos. And we've got 5 different checklists you can go and download as members about winterization, number 1 key to food truck success, startup, electrical, and more.
Well, thank you, Bill and Kaylee, and thank you everybody for the questions and for the interaction. It's just so much fun. Like Kaylee said, if anybody has any questions for me, you can hit me up at Justin at Custom Trailer Pros. The rest of my week this week is stacked. So if you do email me, I'll do my best to get back to you right away. But if not, this week it'll be the beginning of next week. But again, happy to talk with you and answer any questions that I can moving forward.
Thank you guys so much.
Thanks again, everyone.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good week.
You too.
All right, bye.
See you guys.
Bye.